Three, two. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CNT podcast. My name is Tommy Terrio. I am here with
Dylan Traeger. Thank you, Tommy.
Yep. So after 3+ years of Justin not missing an episode and him being a stalwart of the CNT
This is 2
podcast,
weeks in
he's
a
giving
row,
me
right?
and Dylan a little bit more
2 weeks in a row of him
reins.
missing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of it's an interesting shift. So
He's
glad
been
you
off
can
his
be
game
here
lately.
again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So you want to get and show us the card of the week for this week?
Yeah, without any further ado, card of the week is a flawless. I just picked this up this week. Jackie Robinson game worn jersey.
Nice. I like
That
that a
is
lot.
number 12 of 15. Really clean basic card. If you can't tell, it's like all like blue for Brooklyn colors. I like how he's kind of black and white to show how old it is. You can kind of tell how old the fabric is. Really cool card. I picked it up at a card show last week. Really happy about that one. Probably keep that for some time.
How much was it? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's worth about 200. I got it for 100. I got a good deal on it. Yeah,
That's great.
flipped a coin on the deal.
There you go. Yeah.
Always love doing that.
Yep. I gotta say, it would be so much fun to open one of those because those boxes are what, like $1,000, something in that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, well, NBA ones are really expensive. The MLB are cheaper because it's Panini, so they don't have the licensing for baseball. So the Panini products are usually cheaper, but it's really expensive. I've never opened one.
That'd be a dream box to open. I'll tell you what, one of those.
Yeah, that or National Treasures. I mean, really nice boxes. Yeah.
So as you can see by the title and all that, today we are talking about the business of baseball. And as much as you and I love it, and everybody who listens and watches loves the sport, there's a lot of problems, especially with the business of baseball. Like we could talk for hours about the rules and the shift and all that stuff. I believe we've done an episode recently about that too. But with the business of baseball, we had a couple topics that we thought, these are things that we need to get fixed in order to continue to grow the game. Do you want to start off with what you choose one of the three? Any of yours?
Yeah, my first thing that I have a problem with is the off seasons being way too long and boring. I think there needs to be another event or something going on the off season to keep fans ready for the season to start. And if this doesn't make sense, I'll give you an example. For the NBA, the playoffs and championship, it ends in early June, right? They have the NBA draft, which is a big event. Everyone looks forward to it. NBA fans, they all watch it. And that still happens in late June. So it's the same month. And about 2 weeks after the draft, fans get NBA Summer League. So the point is the fans are staying in the mix all off season and they're getting things to do all season. And keep in mind, during Summer League, free agency starts. So it's thing after thing after thing. You're basically never out of the NBA. It's things going on the whole summer. And comparing that to the MLB, the MLB draft is not something fans watch. It's most fans don't watch college baseball. I mean, unless you're from like Omaha or Nebraska where the games are played, then you watch it. A lot of fans don't watch college baseball. The draft
or
is
you have a family member who's a part of a team. Like then you'll watch
exactly.
it.
Yeah. But the draft, it's extremely long. It's tens and tens of rounds. Most fans only watch the first round, if that. The point is the fans are going from October till March without really anything going on. So, I mean, the way I think of it is something needs to be happening over the offseason to keep fans ready for baseball. I think the first thing could be is allowing fans to watch the Arizona League baseball on cable or on free streams, getting to watch the minor league games, or allowing fans to watch every game of the World Baseball Classic for free on TV or stream when that happens every 4 years. I know it's not next year, but something to keep everyone engaged and involved,
So two things that I'd like to expand on with yours. Number one, the draft is MLB Network too. That's the other problem. NFL, NBA, NHL all have their drafts on ESPN. And like everybody, even if you have the most basic TV package, you're generally going to have ESPN come with that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you get that experience. You don't have to pay for anything else. You don't have to hunt for it. It is right there for you. So I just think it's completely, completely like holding back the MLB's growth if just a small portion of the audience, A, like cares about it in the first place, and B, you can't grow it because, not everybody has, MLB Network and the specific package that has to go with that.
Right. Well, like for the draft, I'll say like for me, I don't watch draft. I never watch MLB draft. Like the NBA draft is something I look forward to. I watch college basketball year round. I'm sure you watch a little college hoops.
Yeah.
Everyone watches college basketball, especially in March. College baseball is something I don't think many people watch. I mean, like, yeah, it sounds really cool to get to go to Omaha and watch like the College World Series or whatever, but I don't think anyone really is willingly turning on your TV and turning on college baseball. At least for me, I think they need to do something to make the draft more exciting, even if it's starting off with giving everyone a free stream, something to give them a more incentive to watching it. Because I right now I couldn't name more than 5 guys that are going to be in the draft next year, and I have zero interest in watching not even the first pick.
Yeah. Like all
Just to be honest with you.
I'll read the articles about all right, who's supposed to be good in this, and then I'll, kind of see where they end up. But that's it.
Right.
And the other thing to keep in mind here, especially going towards the MLB, is you and I have been fans, I mean, essentially since we popped out the womb, right? Like we've been
Yeah.
baseball fans, and I could go on a rant about, Jorge De La Rosa's 2011 season for about 20 minutes and, have a great time. You could talk about, I don't know, I don't know how the 2009 White Sox team did, but like you could talk about that for forever.
Ken Griffey
And
Jr. on
yet,
the Sox. What's better than that?
and yet we don't care. Like if you can't get us to care about the MLB draft, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. There needs to be something more exciting to watch. Like college basketball is so hyped up in March. Like everyone watches it. They play it in schools. Like I know my schools since elementary school. We've watched some of the games like in class. I'm sure you've watched a couple games in class as a class. Like
I'm not as a class. I'm not going to say I haven't
at
watched
least
them, but not.
yourself. At least yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's something everyone watches. Like it's a big thing people bet on. It's a huge thing around the world. They got to figure out a way to make college baseball like that. I don't
Yeah.
know
And
what
it's
they
like,
have to do, but they got to find something.
there are two things you could do to get any guy, any male aged between 15 and 45. There are two conversation starters throughout the year. How is your fantasy football team doing in the fall? And how is your bracket in March?
Hmm.
Um, Going back to the more general offseason being boring, I have an idea. So like going back to basketball, even because I feel like that's a very good example. What if just a thought? What if we did more pro-ams? Like more of these pro-ams, like these like get together games. I mean, baseball is a little bit more difficult because basketball you can throw them on any like it's a lot easier to make a regulation sized NBA court than it is to like have
Well,
a full MLB baseball field.
I
But the
really like
baseball
that
fields
idea.
aren't
Yeah.
being used outside of for baseball, so you have 30 places where you can go and play, and you just bring together just different players. It doesn't have to be all-star teams. It can be it could be Juan Soto and Mike Trout. We could do a home run derbies. Like there's so many events that could happen.
How about not even just pro am baseball? How about pro am softball? With like you said, like Mike Trout, Juan Soto. There's a really lower risk of injury on these guys. If they're in a jersey and shorts, and I bet a lot of celebrities would come play. And I think that'd be something really cool. I know I'd watch that.
Yeah, and
I mean,
you could do some legend showcase games too, like some like bring
yeah.
back like I mean who was it that came back like in the celebrity softball game this year and almost was it Andre Ethier? No, it wasn't Ethier. Who was it though? You remember what I'm talking about? Where he almost hit the home run out like in as an actual MLB home run. Do you remember who?
Was
It
it
was a
Hunter
Giants
Pence
player
or
and they were in LA.
was it Hunter Pence?
That's who it was. It was Hunter
Yeah.
Pence. But
Hmm.
like stuff like that, like these recently retired guys who obviously will still have a love of baseball.
Right.
So
Yeah.
bring them back, have some Legends Showcase softball games, heck, even baseball games, and just have fun with it, you know?
Right. And as you said, like there's all the fields, like I know some of the fields they turn into like I know at least for me, sometimes they'll turn the Sox stadium into like a driving range. I know they do that in Boston and they sometimes have football games at the places, but there's so many fields that are empty. Like
Yeah, a
at least
couple of
like
times a year they'll do a couple of hockey games, you know, like Fenway
yeah,
Park is
but
a
like
hockey game in January. That's it.
it's warm in Miami all year. It's warm in LA all year. It's warm in Texas. Get a pro am softball game or like a league. Like I think that'd be really cool. And I know I would watch that
Oh
if
yeah,
they
I
played a
would
pro
definitely
am.
tune into that. That'd be
I would watch
fun.
that. Yes, very cool. Maybe you should become the new commissioner.
Oh, oh I would love that, but I don't know if I want that much public scrutiny because no matter what I do, someone's going to hate what I do.
Well,
You
if you
know?
don't fuck up, then there won't be any issues.
That's fair.
You've already got a good idea. You're already starting off pretty good.
Yeah, I think I also, coming from a fan's perspective, I feel like I could do a better job. I wonder if
Well,
almost the biggest thing though, at the end of the day, the biggest way you can, be a good commissioner is knowing your time is up, Like,
well, I think that goes towards any position, any head coach, any manager, any player. That could be
yeah,
said for anything.
yeah. I mean, it's impossible to say when to go out on top because you never like if you're on top of the world, you don't know when you're going to fall off. That's just not, but don't try to drag something into something, don't try to make something out of nothing, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
You want to go into our next
Yeah.
item?
My second bullet point for today was the minor league pay scale. And I know there's not a lot of lenience necessarily because the minor league teams aren't really making much of a profit off of their teams. It's the major league teams who get the money from it. And there's not a lot of revenue to be made for minor leagues, but this is something that's been addressed quite a lot lately. So for anyone who doesn't know, the average minor leaguer makes anywhere between 5 grand to 14 grand a year. With the exception of, former MLB players who make decent money playing in AAA. Like Matt Kemp playing in AAA, like he'll make good money. He'll make 500,000, but that's the exception. The argument is a minimum wage worker makes 25 grand a year, and no minor league baseball player of that skill should be making half of what a minimum wage worker makes at McDonald's. I understand that the teams can't afford to pay 300 guys 30 grand a year. That would be a bit too much, I think. But I think something they need to look at is paying the higher skilled guys and the higher level guys at least the minimum wage. What do you think?
Yeah. So are you familiar with the poverty? So we'll say, these are guys, in their, anywhere from probably 19, I would imagine is probably the youngest you'll look at,
Yeah, 18
like
or 19.
18 or 19, all the way up to about, let's say 32. Okay.
Okay.
So reasonably, we can expect most of them to have a significant other. Be that male or female, we're not going to get political, whatever. The US poverty line, if there's two people in the house, is $17,000. What'd you say what'd you say the average was from what to what?
5 to 14.
So you're telling me that a person who is playing under an owner who has in every single case at least $700 million
It's crazy.
can't feed their families if they're just playing baseball? Like that, like housing is great. And, the housing being paid for, I believe it's year round too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's year round housing paid for.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of hotel traveling, but you're on the right track. Yeah.
Um, so that's a good start, but there's still $3,000 under the poverty. Like, like you're still, I mean, obviously it's idealistic to say no one should ever have to worry about, monetary concerns and feeding their family, but with who you're playing for and the talent that you have, and unless you're like a star, like if you are one of those number one picks who has the $1 million+ signing bonus,
That's the exception.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
What are you gonna do?
Well, I'm gonna say this. I watch basketball. You obviously know what the NBA G League is. I'd say for comparison, the NBA G League is equal to like playing AAA baseball. Would you agree with that, Tommy?
I would say it's like two and a half. Like it would be, two and a half A, if you will. Like it's not the same, but it's essentially, yeah.
It's around AAA
It's
baseball, a
around
little
AAA
higher, a
level, yeah.
little lower. Yeah, you get guys who skip college to go from high school to the G League. You get young rookies who can't find a spot in a team. You find veterans like Isaiah Thomas, Lance Stevenson. The point is, the lowest a G League player can make is $7,500 a month, which is equal to $37,000 for 5 months of play. That's the lowest. Now the highest, there's a guy making 500 grand in the G League. I just want to point that out, maybe to maybe show a AAA player should be getting a little bit more. Considering, yeah, the NBA G League, yes, there's less spots on a team. There's only 13, 15 guys on a team, but the worst guys on the team are making double what the best players in AAA are making.
I got a good one too. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The AHL. The AHL I think is even better when it comes to like AAA because there is a lot more interaction between the teams in the AHL versus NHL. And it's also a little bit more comparable of a roster size. Okay.
Mhm.
The minimum wage there is $52,000 a
Yep.
year.
Hmm.
There is no excuse when the NHL is the fourth most popular sport. Baseball is probably three, right? We're assuming baseball is three. It's probably football, basketball, baseball, hockey. That's what I would guess. I think
I
pretty much
agree
every.
with that. Yeah.
Um, there's no reason that these hockey owners who are not nearly as rich. I mean, you got Steve Cohen, who is more money. Like he has more money than like I'm a big book guy. I have a bunch of books here. He has more money than all the pages in all of my books times 10. Like it's absurd. And hockey is a much poorer sport, and yet they're able to pay all of their guys a lot more money. Like there is
Hmm.
no reason for that.
Right.
That also does reflect, though, that hockey's richest contract by year is Nathan McKinnon at 12.8 million a year. So that does obviously reflect it when Max Scherzer is making 43, Aaron Judge is going to make 50 somewhere.
Right.
Somebody's going to pay him 50 million a year. I don't know who, but somebody is.
Well, they're paying the guys so much less money to play much more of a physical sport, and they leaves them more money to allocate towards the AHL players if that's how it works with them.
Yeah.
If they're paying their best player 12 million and we're paying our best player 50 million, I mean, I think if Max Scherzer was getting paid 12 million and every player in the MLB agreed to it, then they could pay the minor leaguers minimum wage.
Yeah. So the best player in hockey is um Connor McDavid, okay?
Okay.
And he's getting an $11 million. So he has a signing bonus like extrapolated out across his deal. So his base salary is $1 million. We'll go with his cap hit of 12.5 million, right? So if we just go over, I want to look. I want to try to find the top just cap hits because like I'm curious just what kind of player would be comparable in that, in that regard, right?
Right.
Here it is actually. Tim Anderson, 12.5 adjusted 12.5 million adjusted salary. There's a lot more money to go around if your star player is getting paid like Tim Anderson and not like Max Scherzer.
Right.
I don't know. It's a very weird. I mean, human rights are a thing that we should, try to honor a little bit more in this sport that we love.
Well, I think I agree with that. I also think they're taking a huge sacrifice to play in the minor leagues, and you're only getting paid for your time, I'm pretty sure, when you're with the team. So if you're playing a season from April to September April, May,
June,
June,
July.
July, August, September. That's 6 months you're getting paid. You gotta find another job to work in the off season in partnership with working out and training, because
Hmm.
they're playing in the minor leagues with the goal to make the major leagues. You're not playing in the minor leagues to make money. That's not what you're doing unless you're an MLB guy in AAA.
Yeah, hasn't that always been the argument though? Like from the owners and stuff, like they chose to do this. Hasn't that always been the argument?
Yeah, and I think it's a fair argument because you're not playing in the minor leagues to make money. You're playing to reach the goal of making it big.
Yeah,
If you just get to the major leagues, just barely grasp it, you're making at least $500,000.
yeah.
That's the minimum salary. If you
And
play
then you're
one
set,
game, yeah.
if you play 3 years in the MLB at like as the worst player on the worst team, you are still making plenty of money to suit you and your family for the rest of your life if you are smart with your money and everything like that.
Well, I think it's kind of tough, and I don't think it's going to be an issue that's going to be addressed fairly, at least in the time coming. The minor
Yeah,
league teams
because
have lost so much. They lost so much money though during the COVID and during the lockout, and they're generating zero money during that. I don't know. It's a very big
yeah,
issue.
it really is. I mean, I don't really know what the solution is though. Because
Unless they got really good sponsors, like really good sponsors for every team, there's not enough money to go around to every single player.
so what do you think we should do then? Because like something has to be done, obviously, but what is that?
I think looking at more advertising could be the first step. Getting big advertisers, like bigger companies, to sponsor the minor league teams, giving an incentive for them to make more money, uh, or at the least paying the better guys minimum wage. I mean, yeah, you can't pay guys in the Arizona League in low A minimum wage, but at least paying, top prospects, double A, triple A guys, the minimum wage. Now that's giving more of an incentive to the lower guys to work harder to get up there, you know.
Yeah. What if you did
And
like a free stream of okay, it's gonna be hard, but just hear me out. You did a free stream of every minor league game on the MLB app. Just go with me for a second. Thinking about all the commercial time you have in between every single inning, you are making tens of millions of more dollars by doing that.
you're also getting people to buy the subscription, which is what, $70 a year? Like it's expensive.
Not MLB TV. I'm saying just the base MLB app for free. That's not
Oh,
part. That's not.
okay. Okay. I mean, I personally I would watch my minor league teams if they put it on there for free. And I think it's something they don't do enough is
And
giving
every team has
fans.
prospects too. Like every team has a top prospect. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, well, I don't think they give fans a good enough opportunity to watch the minor league games on stream. Because I would love to watch, AAA Charlotte Knights. I'd love to watch these games.
Yeah, it'd be great, but I don't know. I don't know what the big holdup is in that regard. I feel like like the paying the minor leaguers just in an idealistic world, that's a little bit of a problem. But if I got to turn on an Isotopes game and see Zach Veen and who everybody else turn it on for for the next year, that'd be great. But
Well, I think another issue is kind of looking at the total money aspect. Like, let's say each team has, I don't know, 200 minor leaguers, complete guess out of the ballpark, and you pay a minimum wage at 30 grand a year for each guy. That's $6 million. $6 million, which you're paying to 200 guys, in which maybe 10 of them will make your team at the end of the day. It's a lot of money to pay guys who aren't going to play for your team. And I think that's a big argument. It's a lot of these guys are just there to fill the roster spots. They're not there because the team has an idea of them playing on the team. A lot of these guys are just filling roster spots in low A, high A, and it's not worth it for the teams to pay them 30 grand a piece if they know they're not going to play with them the next year.
yeah.
It's a lot of
Or
money to be paying.
like two other names that I want to throw out in there. Winton Bernard and Yermín Mercedes. Those are two guys that have worked and worked and worked for years. And in the past 2 years, finally got their opportunity. You know, and that's great up until you realize, wait a minute, like 10% of everybody, like these people are choosing to do this when only 10% of every minor leaguer, 10% of all minor leaguers make it to the majors. That's the harsh reality of the sport. You're choosing to try to be that 1 in 10. And baseball busts go under the radar because they aren't cast into the national spotlight. If Jackson Holliday becomes an absolute bust, it isn't a Jamarcus Russell type of situation. It isn't a Peyton Hillis type of situation, because no one cares about, a guy who can't hit in low A baseball. Like it doesn't receive any national media attention.
Right. Well, also you can look at it this way. Jamarcus Russell, when he gets drafted, he's put into the spot right away. He doesn't necessarily have to work for anything. He's given the opportunity. While Jackson Holliday or any guy that gets drafted, they have to work. And that could be discouraging. You got to sit there 3-4 years before even getting it where you're a rookie. And then you still got to work,
Which doesn't seem, I mean,
You're
which
handed
seems
things a lot easier in the NBA and NFL once you make it,
which seems unfair, if you will. Like, it doesn't make sense that a guy who, like, if you're going to invest a draft capital into the best player, into supposedly the best player in, like at the pro or at the college level or at the high school level, that he should be at the very least at AA. This is a guy that you put your entire franchise's future around. You should show enough trust to put him there and set him on a faster track. He should not have to go with every other single guy that you draft, because it isn't going to matter, because he is going to outpace all of them.
Right.
You aren't doing him any favors by starting him at rookie league, where he is going to hit 120 home runs and get 9,000 ribbies in every single year.
Right. Which was I didn't understand that when the Sox drafted Andrew Vaughn out of California with like the third pick, and they put him in like rookie ball, and he was hitting like 500 in like 6 games.
And you're just
And
going to
then they
destroy
just
his
move him.
confidence once you send him up higher. Like, you
They
just got
move him
to.
from they moved him from rookie ball to low A, where he hit like 400, and then low A to single A, where he was hitting like 400. And it's just like putting Jacob DeGrom on a triple A rehab. Like it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
Like seeing, what I'm talking about, seeing like Jacob DeGrom hurt for a month and playing like 3 rehab games for the Syracuse Mets, where he just goes like 7 shutout innings. It's demoralizing,
Like, what he's going to do to some AAA guys. Like, this is the best pitcher on earth that we're talking about. Like, what are we doing?
Well, some people might argue that's what's going to make the minor league teams the money, because if you got Jacob DeGrom playing on rehab, those seats are going to be completely sold out,
I wonder if there is that incentive as to
I
why
think
so
there
many
is.
teams do that.
I mean, if there's 2,000 seats in a ballpark and Jacob DeGrom is coming for rehab, they
There's
can
gonna be
raise
2,500 people there.
they're going to raise the ticket prices. They're going to sell standing room only seats. The
There's gonna be
food's going to,
bobbleheads. There's gonna be signing events. Like,
yeah,
they're gonna
the
capitalize on this to the utmost extent.
everything's going to sell through the roof, and it's easy money for the owners because DeGrom isn't getting paid more money to play on a rehab. He's getting his salary that he signed. He's not getting any more money. So I guess they're going to make the most out of it.
Yeah, might as well, right?
Exactly.
They don't have to pay him to do it. No one has to pay him to do it. That the owners get to pocket as much of that money as they want.
Right. All right. Should we move on to free agency?
Yeah.
So something I wanted to highlight with free agency is A lot of people argue that it's a boring process, it's long. Uh, I'm arguing it's a long mix. There's qualifying offers, like non-tendering, the Rule 5 draft. There's a lot going on, but I would like to see the process get slightly shortened, maybe by a week or two, just for the fact that qualifying offers and the winter meetings in San Diego are like a month apart. So we have this really long gap of guys being non-tendered and then like a month in between until we get to see free agency.
It's
Like
like,
I'm
Aaron Judge is meeting with the Giants, guys. Look at this.
yeah, I mean
He's not
like
going to sign for another month. Like,
we saw Carlos Santana get signed by like the Pirates yesterday. Like whoop de do, big deal. But all
known
I get,
Pirates
I
legend,
got
Carlos Santana. Known Pirates legend.
well, I've got all my notifications on, and all I'm getting is like, White Sox showing interest in Mike Clevenger. And when I see that breaking news, and I see Mike Clevenger, and I see White Sox, my heart sinks. I click on it. Oh, they're meeting. Like it's the
Hey,
shit like this. Like
at least show something to look. I mean, all I know is I'm getting Cody Bellinger, and that's all the Rockies offseason is going to be. It's going to be Cody Bellinger, and that's it.
I'd take Cody Bellinger,
I don't know. I'm hoping Cody
especially in
Bellinger can
Colorado.
revise
He's
his
gonna
career.
he's gonna hit 30 home runs and hit 260 in Colorado.
I know that's what I'm thinking. Is it's like I kind of hope he comes to the Rockies because he is going to succeed in the altitude, and that's just the hope, But I don't know. It's either him or Brandon Nimmo. That's all that. It's gonna be one of the two. That's all it's gonna be.
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nimmo. Come.
I've had that as my fantasy name like 3 different years.
Really.
Yeah, I usually have them for that purpose.
I don't know. I never came. I mean, I have great names in all but one of my leagues, and of course the one that I don't have a name in is the one I'm the best in. But that's how it is. That's just how it is.
I slowly stopped caring about the names and more about my performance.
Oh,
Like slowly.
I just have fun with the names. I don't know.
Yeah. So what do you think about free agency?
I think we're partially spoiled by other sports.
Yeah.
Um. Also, there's no incentive for guys to sign like right at the same like time, if you will.
Hmm.
Like what I'm thinking, is 2021. Just this is the first one that came to mind. This obviously might not be the best example, but 2021 hockey, in the first half hour there were 12 deals done of free agency opening. It was perfect, but there should be a designated free agency window of like, because even I don't fully understand like when free agent, like when you can sign, when you can't sign. Like it's kind of confusing. There should just be, hey, this is when you can sign and this is when you can no longer sign, and just call it that, and everybody can follow along and make sense. And there's going to be deadline deals, and there's going to be more suspense and anticipation. It's going to be more fun.
Well, so what would happen if you don't sign? Like Craig Kimbrell waiting halfway through the season to sign.
Then he's just not going to have a job. That's just that's just what it's going to be.
Well, you gotta allow free agency like through the season.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying for the off-season free agency block.
Well, I kind of disagree with that, just for the fact that trades are going on throughout the off season. So if the Rockies trade Charlie Blackmon after all the free agents are gone, they might want to sign, a bench outfielder, you know.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you can sign anyone throughout the thing. Like, you look at the NBA, like any team can sign Carmelo right now or DeMarcus Cousins. What I don't like is guys are being left on the table for too long. Like those guys, like how in baseball, like Dallas Keuchel waited so long and Craig Kimbrell waited so long, and like
Yeah, but by that point we knew Dallas Keuchel was not a good baseball player. Just to be fair.
well, this was before the fact. This was
Oh,
like
I thought you were talking about this past season. I was like, Dallas Keuchel was just not a good player.
no,
So
before the fact. Like Craig Kimbrell, at the point when he was one of the top relievers, like, waited like a fourth of the season to sign. Like I don't know how much I like that. That it's a
yeah, no,
money
I don't.
aspect to play before playing. I mean, I get it for them. They're waiting to see how much more money they can get. But
You also have to be realistic too. Like
I think some of these guys are expecting way too much money compared to what they're worth. Like Brandon Nimmo, like he's expecting 120 million right now. That's what I read.
That's why I want the Rockies to get Bellinger instead. Because Bellinger has been humbled by the fact that the Dodgers won't pay him 18 million. And I think he also recognizes that he's not that good of a player anymore. So
Right. Well, Nimmo thinks that he can just get 120 somewhere. Same with Conforto, because Conforto didn't sign anywhere last year. Two
that
guys
was,
thinking
yeah,
they're worth a lot of money. Conforto was expecting like triple digits after that big injury. No one wants to give it to him.
that was due to injury though, right? That he wasn't signed mostly.
It was due to injury, but he's still expecting to come off of injury and be the same player that he was before and get big money. Like I know the White Sox had interest in him and they inquired and he wanted like 3 years for like 100 million or 80 million. And we're like, you're coming off a season ending injury where you didn't play the whole year. Why would we give that to you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, so this is actually an opinion that my grandma shares every time I say, "Hey, guess who signed for this much?" Every time she says, "Oh, that's wait, no one should be making that money." Especially when J Rod got his contract. I mean, that's one of the best examples. She was like, "No one deserves anywhere near that kind of money," and it's like, I don't disagree. You know
Well, I think people deserve it because there's so much money involved in baseball, so much money.
that
And he's
I agree that they deserve it based on the pay scale of the MLB, but I don't think that they deserve it based on just how much money people should be making versus, how little others are making in this world. You know what I mean?
well, it's also about the supply and demand. Like the elementary school teachers, as much as they deserve to be making money, they're not hitting 450-foot home runs on a daily basis. J Rod has like a once in a he's got a once in a generation talent that he's gonna hit 300, 20, 30 home runs, steal 40 or 50 bases. That's not something other people can do. Do I think he's worth what he's paid? The 300 million? No, I don't think he's proven anything yet. But I think if you've got a talent, you should be worth it to get paid.
By the way, teaching was the wrong argument to bring up. I mean, I could, outmaneuver that argument 7 ways from Sunday, but that's
I
not
was
the
just
point.
using a random job. I could have said, anything, a
Yeah, but
lawyer, a
that's
construction
not the
worker.
point. That's not the point of this debate. I'll leave that for another. I'll leave that for other discussion spaces. But um, in my opinion, the biggest problem, though, at the end of the day, is that I just think about some of the things that you just want in your life. Money is no object, right? It's this really nice house. It's this really nice, private jet. It's this car. It's, paying off college. It's, being able to support your family, whatever it is. Even then, that doesn't cost, 400 million dollars that J Rod's making. I mean, everybody's like, hey, I'm going to help pay off my mom's mortgage. I'm going to, get my kids through college. I'm going to do all this stuff. Even after that, you're going to have $150 million left over, like, obviously, he deserves, maybe he gets another 50 million to spend on, trips and, who knows what else, right? Lavish gifts for his family, whatever, right? Don't care about that. The problem becomes when what do you do with that other $200 million that he just made that, he's not going to use, maybe his grandchildren use it, but you're not paying his grandchildren to hit 450-foot home runs. You're not. So, maybe pay him 200 million, let him help out, everybody, let him give to the community, everything else. But then there's another $270 of pointlessness.
I just think like I hear what you're saying. I think you got a really good argument. But just with how it is, like with baseball, how much they're profiting, that every year the salary for baseball, basketball, football, hockey, anything, it's gonna keep increasing because inflation, everything's going up in the market, the value of a dollar, and the sports are gonna keep making more money. They're killing it right now, the markets. all that's going to happen is if the owners are making more money and the teams are making more money, the salary caps are going to keep increasing. And you never know. Like there's gonna be a few years. Who knows if Jason Dominguez comes to the league and hits 350 with 40 home runs, he's gonna be the next guy getting $500 million. You know.
Yeah. And the other
Oh
thing
wait,
is, it's
hang on. Julio, you want to donate 100 million to the CNT podcast? Oh, thank you. I'll tell Tommy. Yeah, Julio Rodriguez just called me. He's giving us $100 million for the podcast.
let's just say that let's just say that Julio Rodriguez just deserved to. We'll just cut it down to $200 million, right? So we decided that there's about I did some vague research. This could be wrong, but there's approximately 7,000 minor leaguers, right?
How many?
Approximately. There's not. I mean, that's not an exact number. There's going to be some fluctuating rosters, whatever, right?
What's the number?
7,000.
Including independent league?
No, just professional minor leaguers signed under the MILB heading. There's
Okay.
7,000. Okay.
All right.
So 270 million divided by 7,000. That would mean that you could pay every single person $38,000, $38,571. Okay. So, maybe they get that right up front, whatever, right? We'll say we'll divide that across 2 years. Then you've reached the poverty line. You could reasonably pay people, every single minor leaguer, more than they are currently getting for 2 years, simply if you shave off $270 million that Julio Rodriguez physically cannot use in his career.
You also could argue that Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk give half of their net worth to the world and end world hunger, all this, all that. It's not going to happen though.
It's not going to happen, but there's also a basis in reality of you know so let's just talk about movers and shakers in society, right? We can look at lawyers, we can look at doctors, we can look at politicians, we can look at the underappreciated, the construction workers, the janitors, like all these people who make our society run, right? Truckers
Right.
are a big one that I think over the summer we learned just how important truckers are with all the shortages and everything else.
Right.
What has a kid? So he's 21 from Julio Rodriguez is from Dominican Republic.
Probably. It's a good guess. I don't know.
Let me just make sure, just for the sake of making sure. Loma de Cabrera, Dominican Republic. What has a 21, 22-year-old kid who chose to go into the sport of baseball that most have verbally said they would play for free? What has he done that makes his life $350 million more valuable than that of a trucker, of a politician, of a lawyer, of a doctor, of a nurse, etc.? That's the problem. At the end of the day, these are people who have chosen to play a kid's game, which I have the utmost respect for them doing that and pursuing their passion and everything else. Don't get me wrong. But what have they done outside of generate revenue for a billionaire that a mover and shaker of society has not done? That's what it comes down to, is they haven't done anything that provides any more inherent value to society.
Well, I would say, I mean, how many people do you think watch baseball, like the World Series, or just in general, like in the U.S., like hundreds of millions of people watch baseball, right? He's a guy who gives people things to look forward to, like things to watch. Like it's America's pastime, I'd argue, and I think like having sports is kind of like what keeps a lot of the world together. It's something like people look forward to after a long day of work is watching like their team play. Like like I think these guys do a lot of things that go unnoticed, like along that line. if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
By the way, the last three World Series have been the worst in terms of viewership.
Yeah, I watched this year a little bit. I didn't watch any of the other years. I have no interest in watching the World Series.
It just
If my
comes
team
down
isn't in
to
it.
like, like football. Like I love baseball. But even going back to the 80s, it's so much less of a part of the American psyche and what people care about that you know, I mean, obviously inflation being what it is and everything else, but if you were going off of the popularity and the value added to society by the amount of people watch it and the morale boost and the popularity and everything else, by the way, that's a Tommy story that's coming out talking about like the morale and importance of baseball to American society. That's coming out today. You just have to ask, why is this guy making, 300, $400 million more than the highest paid player was back in 1980? If you're going with the morale and how much, baseball affects society, if anything, his value has lessened. And it goes back to the argument of there's $350 million that guy didn't deserve if you're going off of that. So say, what do we think the highest MLB salary in 1980 was? Just throw out a random number. $100 million maybe?
Uh, no, like I mean, like Michael Jordan was making like 5 or 10 million in 1990. So like maybe 15 million a year. I'd say 8 million a year in 1985 is the highest salary.
MLB annual salary leader since 1874. I don't really care about 1874 because that really doesn't,
1985, I'm guessing the highest was 8 a year.
1985, the highest salary was Mike Schmidt at 2 million.
Yeah, I mean,
So
you were guessing 100 million
I was saying total 100 million, but
total. What?
like total money that they would gain over the course of their contract.
Yeah,
But so Mike Schmidt made $2 million in 1985. Okay. Mike Schmidt was great, by the way. That's a side tangent. We'll talk about, how underappreciated he was. Side tangent there. But so Julio Rodriguez and and Mike Trout and all these stars and Tatis, all these people that have brought a seemingly more audience, and yet the viewership has consistently tanked since 1985, essentially. So Julio has, after taxes, we'll say he's made $400 million, right?
okay.
That is still a little under $398 million more than Mike Schmidt made in 1985. The argument comes back to he has not added much more value than that, to make sense for that $398 million. Besides people charging more for tickets, people charging more, like the owners charging more for tickets for all this stuff. It's not the players providing the value, it's the people raising the prices. Like that's not what's like driven up the economics of the sport. It's just it's a hard situation.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a hard situation. I think there's with how it is, like, yeah, I mean, these guys shouldn't be getting paid that much, but it is what it is, and if nothing's going to stop it, it's going to keep
No,
happening and it's
that's
going to
what
keep
that's what
going
I'm
up.
saying. It's a hard situation because nothing's going to stop it. Like
There's no reason to stop it.
there's nothing that's going to say unless all the owners go bankrupt tomorrow,
If
nothing's going to stop it.
like you were saying, the aspect of like the inflation at the stadium, like if one person won't pay a certain price for a ticket, there's always someone else who will. You know, like just because one group of people won't pay for a certain thing, that's the luxury of sports. There's always someone else who will pay that.
Yep.
And they're just going to keep making more and more money every game because every year tickets will go up, the stuff at the stadium will go up, and there's always going to be someone who's going to pay it.
Yeah, just some schmuck is going to pay it out, and that's probably going to be me too.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be the one buying the $15 soda in 5 years and the $20 hot dog, and I'm gonna say, Tom, to look at you. You're paying Julio Rodriguez right now. You're gonna be at the game with Justin and Trevor, and I'm gonna be like, look what you're doing. You're paying his 400 million.
Yeah, that that's the problem, and like you got, you look at it, from the other part of it, even if you're like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, help the corrupt Monforts. I'm not gonna go to a single game at Coors. And then I'm like, all right, let me go, watch, let me go watch, the game on TV, right? Then you run into the problem of, hey, now the Monforts are making millions and millions off of TV deals. Like there is, like there's no way to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such an
I
unfortunate
don't think
thing.
I don't think there's a need to avoid it either. It's a
Well, I
profitable
don't know. You
business.
hate your owners as
It's a
much as we do.
profitable
We're
business.
you do everything you can to make them sell.
I don't know. It's a profitable business, and it's not going to slow down. Even if the TV viewership goes down and the attendance goes down, they're still going to make just as much money as they need to be
Yeah.
successful. Every team besides the Athletics, probably.
What
Uh,
do you think? What do you think needs to change in order for change to be made? If that makes sense.
for what aspect of the game?
Well, just to solve some of these corrupt business practices, could we kind of outline,
For the
like
money aspect like this, I don't think anything needs to change.
you don't think so? You just think
I
people?
mean, yeah, like I like your opinion and I respect it, and I like your point of these guys not being able to make this much money. Do I think Julio Rodriguez is even worth 200 million? No. I mean, I don't think it's a broken aspect of baseball. If one team's not going to pay it, 29 others will pay him. And I mean, I don't think there's an issue with the money. I think the issue is the numbers going down of people wanting to watch the game. And I think that's the only issue I think I have is a lot of kids these days can't sit through a baseball game, and that's why they call baseball boring. They don't play baseball because a lot of kids can't sit through it. They don't have patience. That's a aspect a lot of kids these days don't have. If you talk to someone who watches sports but doesn't like baseball, they're like, oh yeah, baseball. It's too long of a game. It's boring. Like it's. I don't want to sit here and watch guys run for 30 seconds. I'm sure you've heard all that stuff. They have to find a way to make people want to watch a game, whether
The
it's
problem is
adding.
that you can't, like, it's hard to counter, with the, I mean, there is the argument to be made that football is a longer sport to play than a baseball game is.
I don't get how people can argue that baseball is such a long game and it's so stop and go when in football there's a flag on every other play. It's such a long game. It's being stopped every second. The clock stops every second. Baseball, it doesn't stop. It keeps going. There's no pause. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think
remember your place, like remember, like baseball. I think baseball is certainly more boring. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that baseball is less boring than football. I am not going to do that. I get this is a baseball podcast and we are all fans of baseball and everything else, but I'm not going to sit here and say to you that baseball is less boring than football. But at the same time, don't be the kettle calling the pot black.
I mean just because
Baseball's biggest problem is that people aren't willing to experience it for themselves,
right.
and instead all they're doing is they're trusting the critics, and they're just saying they're listening to these voices who just say, baseball's too boring, and they don't actually give it a chance, if you will.
Right. I mean, like if someone doesn't want to watch baseball, fine, don't watch it. Don't become a fan of this team when they're in the playoffs doing good in your town. Like I personally, I'm not a soccer fan, and I know the World Cup's going on right now, and a lot of people are watching that. I've watched a few minutes of it with my friends. I've given it a try. I can't sit through it because I have no interest. I'm not going to sit there and rip on it. I don't enjoy soccer.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
don't know.
not going to sit there and say it's a long game and I don't want to watch it. I don't enjoy it, so I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I think a lesson that I think all of us need to learn is don't criticize something just because we don't understand it.
Yeah, I think you have to do everything I try.
or not, I mean, even not don't understand it, but like if you don't like it, don't force that on other people, you know?
Right.
Like for me, like I have that problem with golf, you know, like I have trouble, you know, enjoying golf, like watch it, like sitting down and watching the Masters is not enjoyable for me. But I'm trying to get out of the habit of not telling people, you know, like I'm trying to get out of the habit of telling people, oh, don't watch it just because I don't like it. You know, that's a problem. That's another problem is,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
there's too many voices in big media who A, either ignore baseball or B, cast it off to the side and, you know, are just completely disrespectful to it. It's just a problem.
Right. You got anything else to add?
No, that's what I got for that one.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot, and I feel like we said a lot. But that's all I have for today.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there's really anything else. I don't know. I feel like I mean, I feel like those are the only really big problems. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like, there's some other minor problems, but I mean, those are mostly not. I mean, I don't have outside of those. I don't have many problems with the business of baseball.
Right. And I mean the season aspect, people say it's too long of a season. I don't think it is. I mean, it's you're playing a game every day. It goes by pretty quick if you're a fan of the team. And then the off season is 6 months too. So I don't think there's an issue there.
This, yeah, which is kind of funny to me as well because so basketball and hockey off seasons both end in June, right?
Off season starts in June, yeah.
Off season, yeah, off season starts in June, and then the season starts early October, right?
Yeah.
That's just a couple months, which means your season is longer than baseball's is.
Hmm.
And yet, for some reason, like, you know, like people are saying, oh, baseball season is too long. We play more than you guys do, and yet your season is longer. Like, really think about that one for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
It goes back to the kettle calling the pot black. It's, you know, baseball doesn't get the respect it deserves for these supposed problems that it has. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I mean, but even then, like, what do you do? What do you do to change it? Because, you know, for the major media companies, baseball doesn't get clicks unless it's the World Series or there's some political issue. Unless there's the World Series money or some political issue involved, baseball does not get clicks. So there's no motivation for people to highlight baseball more. So baseball will continue just to kind of dwell in the darkness of it, if you will.
I agree. But until it's a major issue, I don't think it needs to be addressed yet,
Yeah.
because
Well,
they're
you can
profiting
look
enough
back, you know,
money. It's
like
not an issue yet.
we could probably argue the biggest, like the best point in time for baseball in its histories was probably, I would say, is the 20s and 30s, right? It's the Depression. Everybody needs something positive to look towards. And for them, it was baseball, you know?
Right.
But as football evolved and, you know, hit, you know, like 1965 and 1966 was the first Super Bowl. So as you know, you hit 1966, 67 and onwards, you know, there goes popularity in that regard. As basketball gained its popularity, especially in the 70s, you know, like the 70s into the 80s with, you know, Kareem and then Bird and Magic and eventually MJ later on in the 80s, like, you know, basketball took off and, you know, people only have so much time. So baseball went down, you know, and
Right.
as hockey is growing, it's going up. Baseball is going down. Like it's continuing to, you know, be the same deal over and over
Right.
and over
Yeah.
again.
Hmm.
And, you know,
Yeah.
I'm
It is
not
what
sure
it
there's
is.
much that can change that.
Hmm.
I feel like what baseball can do best is Do that celebrity, like the celebrity softball, like essentially league, to
Yeah,
bring in some stars, do that, and then just accept where they are in the world. Baseball needs to forget about the past and just hope that the future, I mean, because they're making money. Like, like obviously, like, oh, viewership is down, yada, yada, yada. But, you're making money. So just accept what you got and try to continue to grow the sport into the future. Don't keep trying to look back.
yeah.
It isn't America's pastime. So stop trying to make it that, and instead just try to make it a sport that as many people can enjoy as possible, and just, call it a day.
For anyone still watching, make sure you can make a go. Someone needs to make a GoFundMe. Tommy's GoFundMe for the Pro Am softball game, hosted at AT&T Park or Marlins Park in Miami.
There you go.
GoFundMe so we can get enough money to attract the
That's only going to
attention.
cost, a couple $100 million, nothing too much, right?
Well, if everyone donates like $1, like we can get pretty close.
There you go. That'd be good. That'd be good.
We just
I
need
would
to attract
appreciate that.
we just need to attract the attention of the owners. It doesn't have to be like enough money to host the game.
Just start. Hey, $50,000. You come and play softball over in the winter at some point.
Well, no, you could say like this is 50,000 people who donated $1 who said they'd want to watch this.
Yeah,
That's 50,000 guaranteed viewers who will either buy a ticket to the game, watch it, or do whatever.
I just got a great idea. You also incorporate prospects into the league. If you want to grow minor league baseball viewership, you make that you bring this you essentially bring this pro am out, and more people get to see that too. Like that'll be great.
How about this guy? Japanese outfielder Masataka Yoshida is being compared to Bryce Harper because of his sweet left-handed swing, while Adam Jones is comparing him to Juan Soto.
Oh, good for him, right?
All these Japanese guys coming to the league have a lot of hype. I'm excited to see what this one guy does who's coming from Japan.
Sorry, I don't know what his name is.
Senga.
Yeah, Kodai Senga, I think his name is.
Yeah, I'm ready to see who he signs with.
Well, unless you have anything else, I think that just about wraps it up for us this week.
No, I'm all set. And it's 1 o'clock. I think it's lunchtime for me.
Yeah, it's lunchtime here. I'm at 11:45, so it's about lunchtime for me as well. So
Yeah.
all right, thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate you all so much. We will see you all next week. Peace.